Hey everyone, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. Copyright disclaimer. Under the Copyright Act of 1976, I am within my full legal right to share these following clips via video and audio. The following creators allow reshare, redistribution, and download of their content, and as always, I credit in the description box down below. Fair use, public domain, TikTok third-party license, and TikTok Live automatic third-party license for the use of commentary, reaction, teaching, news reporting, research, comment, and criticism. I am legally within my basic human, civil, and constitutional right to share under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. To share my expressions, views, thoughts, opinions, feelings, and critiques. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees my freedom of religion, freedom to exercise of, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, free assembly, and the right to petition the government and air my grievances. The First Amendment does not cover lies that amount to defamation, slander, libel, harassment, stalking, cyberstalking, bullying, cyberbullying, threats, or any other verbal crimes.
I slid into your DMs. Do you feel talked to death about talking about your past?
I did do the crime. I did do the time. The system failed her just as much as the system failed me.
What happens now when you feel sick? Do you doubt yourself?
I am hesitant to go to doctors. I'm a little mistrusting.
Do you think you will forgive your mom?
I've entered a completely new phase in my life. Nobody got anywhere in life. I kept on looking in the rearview mirror. So I just have my eyes forward.
So I slid into your DMs.
Yes.
Which is so bizarre. I don't know, people always think it's someone that's looking to hook up. I always talk about oh, that guy slid into my DMs, and here I am. But it was mom based. It was when you announced you were pregnant. So mom to mom, I slid into your DMs to just say hi. And you responded, and we've carried on this DM relationship until now. And who is it that knew? Because you didn't watch Beverly Hills 90210, right? But your stepmom.
She is a huge fan. She's actually in the living room right now.
I don't know why this is so weird to me that she keeps calling Christy mom. Gypsy is 34. This is her stepmother, and this stepmother did not raise her. She is not a child, and this is not a family reputation rebrand for the public. It just seems so weird and uncomfortable to me. It's just as bad as listening to Christy and Gypsy talk on the jail calls where she's like, I'll be your mom. And remember, at that point, Gypsy Rose was almost 24 years old. It's just very weird to me and seems very disingenuous, especially knowing that Gypsy took the life of her real mother that did raise her. The woman that kept her alive for 24 years.
Kids meet her?
You do. She's not ready, but hey, Gracie, yeah. Tori wants to meet you.
Oh, tell her to take her time. We can talk, and then she can come in when she feels ready.
Oh my God. She's like, I'm not ready.
So gosh, I don't even know where to jump in. I feel like I came into this interview. It's not an interview. It's a podcast chat amongst friends. But I came into this thinking, gosh, what do I even talk to her about? I feel do you feel talked to death? God, no pun intended. Excuse my slip there.
If you didn't know, Tori Spelling is the daughter of Aaron Spelling, and he was worth over $600 million when he passed away. He not only created, but produced numerous TV shows, and he's the entire reason why his daughter Tori got her entire gig with 90210. At one point, Aaron Spelling, during his life, actually held a record for having a mansion with the most amount of bedrooms. At the time, the mansion had over 123 different rooms, including one room specifically for wrapping gifts. And decades ago, this house was over $120 million. But what Tori is doing here to Gypsy is saying, oh, this is an interview. This is just a chat amongst friends. That is a tactic and a strategy that producers and directors use to get comfortable and connect with the subject, the star, the main character. But you can tell that they are really not friends because she says, I don't even know what to connect with you on. I don't even know where to begin or what to ask you. Girl, you've been in her DMs for months and months and months on end, and you're just now interviewing her. and you don't know what to ask? There's some of us that would have done an amazing interview with her, would have asked her a lot of questions, and would still be respectful and civil. But Gypsy is not a friend to Tori Spelling. This is solely for this podcast interview and nothing less, nothing more. It's just so ironic that they want to paint this like, oh, we're friends and we've been in each other's DMs and we've had this relationship and this bond over motherhood. Yet Tori doesn't even know the first thing about Gypsy or her case, her future, her life now, or her past to be able to actually connect with her and ask her any real questions. That in and of itself is already telling you that they're not as close as what she wants you to believe. They are not as close as she wants Gypsy to feel. So she opens up and gives her good content. But I'm just going to give you a really good warning. I sped this up to make it shorter than 50 minutes. And it's not revolutionary. There's nothing new here. It's all the same thing that Gypsy has reiterated over and over and over again, rehearsed, scripted on every other interview or podcast she's done in the last year.
I make jokes when I get nervous about talking about your past.
I think that, I'm tired of talking about it. I think that, at this point, my parole ends day after tomorrow. So on the 26th, finally will be a free woman to the max.
And then you guys are going to come visit me in LA?
I would love to. We would love to. But yeah, I do feel like everything is sort of talked about, and I've entered a completely new phase in my life where it's that was my past. I am completely moving forward with everything in my life, with motherhood, and I just have so much going for me that nobody got anywhere in life by kept on looking in the rearview mirror. So I'm I just have my eyes forward.
Definitely. And you don't want that to define you.
No.
There's so much more to any human than what their past has offered them up.
She's tired of talking about it, but that is the sole reason why in the last 10 years, the Gypsy Rose agenda is the agenda that it is because they have capitalized, promoted, advertised, marketed, and monetized her murder. That's not a multifaceted person. That's not just a mistake. She committed first-degree premeditated murder. 3 lives were damaged and taken because of her actions, words, choices, and behaviors. That's not just what the past offered her. That's what she did. That's who she is. She got documentaries, a reality show, book deals, interviews, podcasts, all of it, even her social media following, all based off of being a convicted murderer. And now she's tired of talking about it. Nobody forced her to turn her crime into money. Nobody forced her to sign any contracts. And moving forward is something we all do every single day, whether you want to do it or not. Once you become a parent, yes, you have to move forward. Everybody has to move forward every single day, even if they are not a parent. That's the funny thing about time, is that time always goes by, and time is nothing more than a tool that us humans use to measure a moment. And with time moving forward, we all move forward, whether we want to or not. That is very scripted to sound like she has now her freedom. She is now becoming the better version of herself that she wasn't allowed to be under the thumb of her mother. But she was 24 then. She's almost 34 now. And we know that she displayed the fact she knew she had other options because she practiced that in action. Walking around, going to people's houses, using taxis, stealing pain medication and money, doing hood rat shit, running away, going off with Dan Glidewell, as well as the 6 other men that she admits to sending photographs to. And yes, that's in the FOIA. She did admit that to Nicholas Godejohn, that she had talked to over 6 different men and teased them, and she liked it. That manipulation of them is what made her feel good, and using her body to do it. The fact is that Gypsy hasn't changed because she was still doing this to Ryan Anderson not even a month ago. And the crazy thing is, she likely still is doing that. And yes, Dee Dee may have been a lot of things, but she never killed anybody. Her supporters always say, but she was slowly killing her daughter. prove it. Nowhere in the case file or her medical records does it ever say anywhere that Gypsy was close to death. The same way they say, well, Nick had this in him, he was going to kill one day anyway. It still doesn't excuse Gypsy's actions, words, choices, and behaviors. It certainly doesn't make it okay for her to take her mother's life, and it doesn't make it okay for her to strip Nicholas of the truth, to try to put all responsibility for her crime on him, when the truth is it would not have happened if it wasn't for her. This was her crime. She orchestrated it all.
But do you, and this sounds really cynical and I'm sorry, but do you feel like, and God, I don't even want to liken this to my situation, but I'm trying to find ways to connect with you, obviously. Like your future, do you feel like that kind of opened up doorways in a positive way? I mean, let's talk positive about the situation, because there's been so much negative. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like, you know, would I have been an actress and my father didn't open the door and give me a platform, give me a TV show? No, maybe not. Do you feel like, is there any positive to what has happened? That you are given opportunities now, maybe to help others, maybe to, you know, fulfill dreams that you thought, gosh, everyone's focused on my past, but is there a good way?
I mean, I feel like I've been trying to do that for so long. When I was in prison, it was so difficult to be able to sort of rebrand myself, because it's like I was still in the middle of living in it. And now that I'm entering into a new phase in my life, I feel like only now can I start to kind of look back and say, you know, yeah, I mean, I came from, you know, I became well known from a tragic situation on both ends. It's like I'm a victim and I'm a perpetrator. So, getting out of the shadow of that is the hardest thing, to be able to have a platform to which to stand on that is respected. It's like, I feel like it is only whenever I can break out of that mold that defines me. And it's like, I don't want to be defined, but unfortunately I am. The reality is I am. And so what is the course of action moving forward? It's taking accountability and saying, you know what, yes, I am branded a murderer, and I did do the crime. I did do the time. Owning up to my actions is what it's all about, and saying I'm not perfect. I made wrong choices, but this is what I'm doing today to try to move forward. I can never bring back the life that was taken. I can never unhurt the people that were hurt. But I can at least try and do some good with it. And I've been trying to break out into advocacy. And I've been trying to figure out what that looks like for me. What am I passionate about? I'm passionate about prison reform. I'm passionate about the fact that there is so, you know, if anybody's watched my show, they can tell that I've gone through it with haters online.
Notice how she does the whole word salad around the whole accountability thing and the whole remorse thing. She still simply cannot say that, yes, she is a murderer. Yes, she is sorry. Yes, she is asking for forgiveness. Because yes, she is truly rehabilitated and remorseful. And she'll never get there until she actually does come to the place where she admits that she is the reason why this whole thing happened. She is the reason why Nick is in the situation he is in. The same way Gypsy is weaponizing this podcast right now to spread her narrative, she weaponizes TikTok. She weaponized autism and Nicholas.
So I'm kind of stepping into the realm of saying, hey, I'm experienced in being cyberbullied, and I don't think it's right, and there's some things in the system that need to change to have better preventative measures from cyberbullying. So it's kind of like, I have a voice, now let's figure out a way to direct it somewhere in a positive manner. And I wouldn't have this platform if I didn't, you know, do what I did. But it's like, you can't change the past, so what can you do? Mold it to where you can better other people in the world and do something with that voice.
And do you, I don't know, you might already do this, do you talk to people, or are you an advocate for Munchausen proxy, like working with people that have that?
I have talked to several victims that have shared their story. That's why I open myself up on social media, is because there has been so many people that have come to me and then shared their story on a personal level. And I didn't blast them out. I'm like, it's your story to tell. If you want me to, you know, bring more awareness to your situation, I will do that. But whatever you say stays between you and I. That's just that kind of safe space that I have created for people.
Too bad Tori and her producers didn't even fact check any of that, because then they would have found situations like the Adaptive Kate thing. And Gypsy was friends with her, and then she turned around and broke up with her in November of 2024.
But I do want to get more involved with organizations, and I have already had several conversations with Munchausen by proxy experts to kind of lead me in the direction and also make me more knowledgeable, because I can only go on my personal experience. There are so many different people that have gone through Munchausen by proxy, but had a different experience.
Sorry, I think I said the wrong name.
Oh, you're fine. It's kind of a hard word to say. So
it is, definitely. But you believe, like deep down in your soul, is that what your mom had?
I do. Even the doctors had put in the medical records, mother is suspected of having Munchausen by proxy. And that's unfortunately where the system is failing, is there's not enough education about Munchausen by proxy. There is probably about a paragraph that doctors learn about in school. It's not enough. I feel like the system failed her just as much as the system failed me. Because you have to remember, she grew up in the 80s, and I was born in the 90s, and mental health wasn't talked about as much as it is now. And so her own family did not recognize those signs. They just kind of was like, okay, she's the black sheep of the family. She's a little weird. They just categorized her like that and didn't look into the fact that she did have trauma. There was things that happened to her in her childhood that caused her to have trauma. And it went unchecked. She was supposed to be on medication. She did not take her medication like she should have, or at all, once we moved to Missouri. So
that's interesting. I wonder why she didn't, like, she was all about giving you medication, but she didn't take her own.
That's really weird that Gypsy is saying that now, because she told Nicholas via text message the night of the crime that her mother had taken her sleep medication. And we know from the toxicology report from her autopsy that's not true. Why would Gypsy lie and say that her mother was in a deep sleep because she took her sleep medication, knowing she didn't? Because she is malicious, she is evil, and she wanted her mother to feel everything.
And did you know she was on medication at the time?
When I was, I grew up with a mother that said that she saw, shapes and shadows and heard voices. So it's like I knew that she had a lady that would come to the house, and this is when we lived in Louisiana. So I may have been 13, 14 years old, and I knew there was a lady that would come to the house to talk to her.
Is Gypsy trying to say that her mother had schizophrenia? Because this is also how Nicholas describes this dark side of him, this bad side of him. And with his autism, it is hard for him to articulate that between truth and reality and fantasy. But he does describe seeing a shadow in his eye and him thinking that that's the bad side of him that literally lives within him. But of course, with autism, they have a hard time distinguishing between reality and fantasy. And Nick very much was into fantasy type of video games like Skyrim and Oblivion, all of those kind of games. So I don't think this is quite literally the way that people may hear it when he says it. But it's not ironic to me that Gypsy chooses to bring this up. She's trying to paint her mother as schizophrenic now, like she heard and seen things that were not there. I don't know, because almost any human on planet Earth, if we were to describe our dreams or to describe our daydreams or some of our thoughts, yeah, there's a lot of people that probably do sound like they're crazy. That doesn't mean that somebody has a mental disability or a mental illness like schizophrenia. And for some reason, I'm not buying it, because nobody else that knew Dee Dee, even for 9 years that they lived in Missouri, or her own family, has ever said any such thing. And also, even if that was true, there is no sign, proof, evidence at all to back up the fact that her mother ever tried to harm herself or physically harm anybody else. And I hate to say this, but every person on human earth has the capacity to take somebody's life. The difference is that most people will not do that. People do it all the time in war. They do it all the time in self-defense. But that's the difference between a crime and not a crime. But the capacity is there for everybody. It's the intent and the maliciousness of her crime. It's the sociopathy that follows her actions, words, choices, and behaviors even after release from prison. And it's, in my own opinion, that Gypsy is probably not properly diagnosed. She refused mental health services while incarcerated because she didn't want to, quote, be in a mental ward, unquote. And Christy also slipped up on the live recently and said that, oh yeah, I hear Gypsy when she's talking to her therapist on the video chat. Yeah, sociopaths, narcissists, psychopaths, murderers, they're studied for a reason, because they are very good at lying to their psychiatrist, to their therapist, to their physicians. I mean, really think about it. Gypsy spent the first 24 years of her life doing just that, actively participating in lying to doctors to convince them that she is sicker than what she really is for financial gain.
But I still didn't understand the scope of, who that lady was, and she was a therapist. And her psychiatrist. So when we moved to Missouri, she didn't follow up with her care. And she wasn't put on her medication because she wasn't seeing anyone anymore. And so it's like that is where the system failed her. Is I feel like if she had been put on medication, if she had the support system that she needed, I feel like things would have been very different.
Right. And at what point did you realize that you weren't sick?
I mean, honestly, I always knew that I could walk. And I talk about this in my book, My Time to Stand. I knew that I could walk, but it's kind of like growing up. My mom said that I had all these medical issues, starting off with sleep apnea, then seizure disorder from birth. So from infancy. So growing up, it was sort of distorted what I knew that I had and what I didn't know. It wasn't until my later teen years that I started to kind of piece together, well, I haven't had a seizure. I don't feel like I have epilepsy. And then it wasn't until I got arrested that I knew the full scope of I'm perfectly healthy.
She is never going to change at all. She's never going to change. She is not perfectly healthy. She has a very severe and rare genetic disease, a microdeletion of a chromosome. And she also has microcephaly. She also has strabismus. She also had sleep apnea as a baby. She had tubes placed in her ears, not only as a kid, but as a teenager, twice in her life. She had recurrent ear infections with bleeding in her right ear, which required antibiotics several times. She also had asthma. She also had severe acid reflux, which is a reason to do a feeding tube and also a reason why the enamel on your teeth can rot very quickly. It happens when people binge and purge, people who have an ED, but that is added with other things and factors that were happening and going on, including drinking out of a baby bottle for 24 years. Because Gypsy wants you to think that they took out all of her teeth, but they didn't. They saved 15 of them with root canals and crowns. So it's contradictory to say that the dentist just took out all of her teeth. They did not take out all of her teeth. It started with 14 cavities being repaired and 3 extractions. Dental rehab after dental rehab after dental rehab. It also resulted in 15 of her teeth, 4, 4, 4, and 3 in each of her quadrants being root canaled and crowned. And that's based on whatever Medicaid in Missouri was covering and paying for. Yeah, it sucks, but most Americans don't have dental insurance or good dental insurance that cover cosmetic or restorative dentistry. And I have a very unpopular opinion, but I believe that everybody deserves to have their teeth restored. Do not hate me for saying this, but it's my own personal opinion that it is a basic human right today to have the function of being able to chew, speak, breathe, and swallow. So in my own opinion, it's not even about the aesthetics. It's not about confidence and being able to say, oh, I look really pretty. But again, that's my unpopular opinion and I'm going to stick by it. But it's just not how things truly are. So no, Gypsy is not perfectly healthy. She has never been perfectly healthy. She had her baby premature and was dilated past 3 centimeters for weeks before giving premature birth to her. Gypsy herself was premature. She had failure to thrive.
And what happens now when you feel sick? Do you doubt yourself?
No, I mean,
typically,
typically I just get like a common cold. But I am hesitant to like go to doctors. I feel like I was the same way in prison.
No, she goes over to the bar and starts dancing with her friends when she has bronchitis. That's what she does. Blue strips, baby, because ain't nothing stopping Gypsy even when she's sick.
I wasn't one of those inmates that would go to the sick bay for anything. I'd be like, okay, I have to really like have bronchitis or something to want to go to the doctor.
Because they failed you.
Exactly. It's just I'm a little mistrusting.
I understand. I just don't understand how doctors didn't see that you were healthy. Or if they did, she would just take you to another doctor?
Yes. So that is very common with parents with Munchausen by proxy. So
too bad Dee Dee did not have Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And if anything, it was more Gypsy having Munchausen, in my own opinion. And we know that because when she was 6, she had a surgery supposedly. And then she told her mother after that she couldn't feel her legs. She said she pretended to be sick because she craved her mother's love and affection. And her mother would pet the cat and give the cat attention and would look at her and snarl. Gypsy is still play acting and role playing the whole medical shit right now. Right freaking now on this podcast. And the reason why everybody is so intrigued by this case and has covered it and has talked about it and has documented all of it, because you know what they say, if you don't document it, then it didn't happen because you don't have proof that it happened, is simply because of the fact that The whole thing just doesn't make sense to anybody. And you have to be completely under a rock or in a cave to not see that. Everybody rooted for her, but it was her exposing herself when she kept continuously lying and lying and lying.
All the test results were coming back normal. So it is very questionable, and I still question it to this day. Like, why is the test results coming back normal? But you're going off of just what my mother said alone.
Right.
So,
and do you feel, congratulations on Aurora.
oh, thank you. Christy's looking after her right now. I was like, I do this podcast. Please look after her.
Sorry, we'll get you back to her soon. Has she been sick at all so far?
No, she hasn't. It's funny because it's like, for me, I'm hesitant with doctors, but for her, I'm like, I feel like I'm normal. I'm like, if she's sick, I'm gonna take her to the doctor. If she's fine, there's no reason to, you know? And also, it's like I'm not doing it alone. Ken is also there with me. So that's kind of like, I'm grateful that I am at that point where it's like, I'm not projecting my mistrust onto her care.
Yeah, I'm curious when she gets sick, I mean, knock on wood, she doesn't, but just anything common, if that will be a trigger for you.
I don't know. I know that I definitely ask a lot of questions. I'm kind of like, you know, is this shot needed? Is this normal? Is this standard? I definitely question a lot. I ask a lot of questions.
Well, you're a mom. Take everything that's happened to you out like you're a normal mom. And especially it's your firstborn.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I remember with my first two, they would just barely like sneeze. I'd be like, oh my God, we have to go to the emergency room. Like it was always a big deal.
Yeah, first of all, Gypsy is going to be very careful because she's got the eyes of all of her family, friends, associates, and the world on her, especially now that she has a baby. Of course, she's not over concerned with her medical care. She barely buckles her in her car seat appropriately, anchors it appropriately, or has the carry handle down appropriately while in a moving vehicle. I think it's more of a, oh, look, I'm a mom now. Look, I'm rebranded now. Welcome to motherhood. It is extremely unrewarding. It is extremely hard. It is your biggest joy and blessing in life, but also you will never control your kids. But again, in 20 years' time, then maybe everybody can revisit this exact thing. Nobody can predetermine what is or is not going to happen in the future for themselves. And Gypsy can't for herself. But she's already off to a really bad start because her baby's only 6 months old and she's already not buckling her. She's already using her to get more views and more monetary gifts on a live panel. She's already posting her crying with colic instead of trying to soothe her. And the craziest part of all of that is that content creators, even people who don't necessarily like Gypsy, were the first ones to try to give her advice. Her so-called haters were the ones that really tried to offer up the most advice to her. But Gypsy doesn't want advice. She just wants to look like she's virtuous. She just wants to look like she is better than everybody else and that she has this handled and that she knows what she's doing. And all of this fits her picture perfect fairy tale.
And I know, becoming a parent, it puts into such perspective our parents. I know I felt like when I had my first baby, I felt differently about my mom because I saw like, oh, wow, this is it. Everything changed.
Yeah.
Did your relationship with your mom, was it put into a different light when Aurora was born?
It was in a pretty impactful way. She was probably about 3 weeks old, 3 weeks old. And I was sitting in the rocking chair and I was feeding her and I was holding her. And I just looked at her. And as I was holding her, it was like I got hit by a truck of emotions. Anger, disappointment in my mom, looking at how much I love my daughter. I'm like, I could never imagine how anybody could hurt, harm, or do anything to their child, their own flesh and blood, like what my mom did to me. And it was like, I felt like I had hit a level where I was coming to forgive her. I was coming around to claim myself as healed. And that happened. And then I'm like back to square one. And I'm just like, I'm choosing to never let my daughter go through anything like what I went through.
Not at the hands of yourself, but you can't predetermine what your daughter will or will not go through because there are things that happen to people every day, to children every day, that is beyond their parents' control. And I hate to say this, but just look at how many hundreds of thousands of missing and exploited children there are in the United States, with only 340 million American citizens. It's easy for anybody to say, I would never let anything happen to my child, but you don't know if that's going to be you tomorrow. You don't know if that's going to be your child 5 years from now. People always think that. And no matter what, there are always kidnappers, traffickers, and predators out there that target vulnerable children. God forbid anything ever happen, but that is just the truth and the reality of our nation and our world. Nobody is safe. You could do your best to try to protect your children, but you can't always protect them from others or themselves. And nobody is safe anywhere. Just look at the fact that Dee Dee Blanchard died in her own home, in her own bed, in her sleep.
I feel like when any of us have kids, the mother-daughter relationship is one of the most complicated ones. Like, it's definitely different than a mother and their son, as you'll see. Do you want more kids?
I do. But we will have to use IVF for our next one because the one medical condition that I actually do have, it's called microdeletion 1Q21.1. So it's just a long word for I'm missing a small piece in each of my first chromosome. So that is something that could potentially be passed down to every child that I have. Every child that I have has a 50-50 shot of having it. Aurora has been tested and she came back negative, thank God.
Great.
So it was not passed to her. But as a preventative measure, we will go through IVF for our next one.
Do you want a boy?
We do want a boy. One boy, one girl.
The perfect formula. I know. I had one boy, one girl, and then I kept going and going and going. And at 5, if I could just have one more, have 6, I'd have 3 boys and 3 girls. But yeah, like a big family you want? No, just 2.
Probably just 2. I say that now. You never know what the future holds, but just 2 for now on the horizon.
Do you think you will forgive your mom one day? If you've been close to it, do you think it can get back there?
I've been close to it, so I think I can get back there. I think the important thing that brings me closer to forgiveness is, the fact that she was a victim. But not only my victim, she was also victimized by her grandfather. Her father, which is my grandfather.
There is no proof of this whatsoever. And I don't know what Dee Dee's siblings are going to have to say about this. Because they said, especially Evans has said directly in a documentary that he does not believe any kind of SA happened. That he believes Gypsy was coached into coming up with that new false allegation, because just like Casey Anthony now throws her dad under the bus and he passed all the lie detectors, so did her mom. FBI administered at that. Her grandfather is the one person that can attest to the fact that Gypsy, when she was a newborn, truly was sick, that she truly did have failure to thrive, and she truly had sleep apnea, and she had other medical conditions. Clearly, you can tell by looking at her when she was a baby that there was something physically not right, genetically not right. Casey Anthony now throws her dad under the bus because her dad was the last eyewitness to attest to the fact that her and her daughter were both alive the last time he saw them getting ready for work and while his wife was at work. So it's no coincidence to me that 2 different murderers are trying to throw somebody else under the bus now, because those are the 2 people that have testified, like with Casey Anthony, that Kaylee was alive. And with Gypsy, her grandfather said that yes, she was born really sick, that the alarm really did go off all the time in the middle of the night when she would stop breathing.
She suffered child abuse herself. I feel like that humanizes her in my mind, and I'm able to relate a little bit on that level. So looking at her not as, the mother that abused me, the mother that kept me from having a normal life, looking at her at a different angle is, I think, what's going to get me there. And I talked to a Munchausen by proxy expert, and the one question I kept having that I never knew and didn't have any clarification on is, was my mother aware of what she was doing? Was there that culpability there? And the expert told me, yes, she was aware. People that have that are aware of what they're doing.
Never mind the fact that she was never diagnosed. So this whole thing wouldn't even be applicable if she truly did not have Munchausen syndrome by proxy. That is solely based off of one person's opinion over that she could have. Even Mark Feldman has said that Gypsy has a high degree of sociopathy, and that what Dee Dee was doing with Gypsy falls under the umbrella and category of malingering, which is not the same thing. The DSM-5, which is the criteria that needs to be met for diagnosing specifically, that Dee Dee does not meet any of the criteria.
So unfortunately, that's just something that like now I have to kind of cope with, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
Do you feel the need to defend your mom?
Beginning, I did. In the beginning, I kind of was like, I had just got arrested and I didn't want my mom's memory tarnished. I was still in this kind of, I hate her, I love her frame of mind. So it was like, I didn't want people to look at her like a bad mom because I'm like, there's nothing left of her but a memory. You know, at the end of it all, there's nothing left but our reputation, our legacy, and what is hers.
We don't know what hers is because you still haven't come forward and told the truth. You've done nothing but lie and slander your mother and villainize her, demonize her every opportunity and chance that you've gotten. And it doesn't make you any less of a murderer either.
So it's like, I don't like it when people call her a bad person. I'm not gonna say she was a perfect person. She wasn't. But I also, it's not their place and they didn't go what I went through.
Yeah, well, you kind of forfeit that right when you take somebody's life. You forfeit the right to then slander them, villainize them, demonize them. You kind of forfeit the right to have any say over their legacy, their memory, their truth, their story. She was your mom. Yeah, but you took her life. You don't own your mom. She was a woman, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a cousin, long before she was your mom. The only people calling her bad names is you, Gypsy. You're the one that's over here making money off of it too. You're just mad because you got caught. And Nicholas sat there and told the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And you were done for. It's kind of funny how much she tries to deflect all responsibility, culpability, accountability, as if she doesn't recognize that what she did was first-degree premeditated murder. Hiring and soliciting somebody else to do it for you is still your first-degree premeditated murder.
To talk about my mom. Does that make sense?
100%, because everyone has an opinion. And when it's your own human, you feel the need to defend on any level. I mean, obviously what you went through is extreme, but everyone, like, I think personally, if someone like talks shit about your family member, you're like, no, wait.
No, that's my
I can feel that way because I go through it. I've been through it, but it's like off limits.
Yeah.
Show me one time, one thing that Gypsy has actually ever done that. You can't. All she does is talk shit about her mom. Every murderer does that. They say they're innocent, that it's not as bad as what it was, or that they're not as responsible as they are. They always try to say, oh, it was him, he was abusive. Oh, they're the ones that did this to me, so I had to. It's my opinion that she hated her mom. She despised her. She loathed her. And the reason why is because every time she looked in the mirror, she was reminded that there is something wrong with her, that she clearly has something genetically wrong with her, that she truly was sick. So she can play it up with whatever clothes, whatever wigs, whatever makeup, but you can still see it. And I think that she psychologically and emotionally blames her mom for that.
Definitely. Did you, obviously you're on text and everything, did you ever look up online symptoms of what your mom had?
I didn't, because
while she was still alive.
No, I didn't, because it's like I thought my mom was like literally just, I just thought that she was just that way. I tossed it up like she's a controlling helicopter, bad mom that, it's just so controlling. So I didn't really know that there was a diagnosis for it. And then that other moms and other caregivers and other parents have this. I didn't know it was a thing.
Was there anyone in your outside circle / inner circle during that time? Like, did you have friends? Did you have people you talked to? Or peers?
I mean, there was people that were friends with my mom. And there were people that, I felt like maybe I could trust on a certain level, but then the fear of would they tell my mom would always creep in my mind. As for like other peers, I didn't go to public school.
You were homeschooled?
I was homeschooled to a certain age.
Did she homeschool you?
She homeschooled me from like a young age, so maybe 8 years old, and then there was no schooling after that. There was like no public school, no homeschool, like nothing after the age of 8. And I got my GED in prison.
Oh, that's so interesting because I've watched everything on you. I'm not a stalker. The whole world has watched everything on you. I want to read your book. But it's just, you are so well spoken.
Okay, first of all, Dee Dee Blanchard was never diagnosed with Munchausen syndrome by proxy. You cannot diagnose somebody who is dead. She was never convicted in a criminal or civil court for abuse or neglect on an adult or a child. She never had an open child protective services or adult protective services case for abuse or neglect on a child or adult. Also, the state of Louisiana and Missouri both have very strict truancy laws. There is no way somebody is just saying that they are homeschooling their child without proving that they are in accordance with the law. And Gypsy was reading 50 Shades of Grey and Harry Potter and all kinds of other books. You can see them on her nightstand next to her bed in the crime scene photos.
Thank you. Thank you.
That I was curious about the schooling because it didn't, from what's been put out there, it didn't appear that you did. So I was like, you're so smart and so informed and just speak so well that I thought, oh, for sure she did. So you got your GED in prison.
Yes, I had to start from the ground up because when I got to prison, I knew how to add small numbers. I knew how to read, write, but my problem was not good. It's like I would make a grocery list and I would spell spaghetti noodles and stuff like that. So I had to learn multiplication, division, all of it from the ground up. I
still don't know that.
Yeah, that's a part of preparing for the GED test. That's a part of the prep. They want to make sure that you can actually pass the test before taking it. Ask any kid who just graduated 6 months ago if they remember a lot of the math or a lot of the algebra or the fractions. I bet you they're all going to say no. Most people need refreshers on that stuff because they lose that very quickly.
Wait till you start getting into polynomials. I had to learn all of that.
Now that your parole is up in tomorrow?
Day after tomorrow.
Sorry, 48 hours. Oh my goodness. Would you ever go to college?
I would like to go to a trade school. I've always had an interest in hair, makeup, nails. So I would love to do something with a cosmetology license. There is a cosmetology school. There's actually a couple in New Orleans that I have looked into. So maybe.
That would be amazing. By the way, your nose looks bomb.
Oh, thank you.
As someone who's had rhinoplasty before, was that just a game changer?
It was.
I thought you looked beautiful before. I really did.
Oh, don't even try to lie. It's okay.
I am not lying. Okay, your profile was iffy, but other than that,
I look back on it.
You were great.
Because I liked, I didn't so much mind the front. It was just the side profile, and I had always been teased because of my nose. And finally, I was like, you know what? I want to do it.
You didn't see anybody.
No, my mom used to.
Oh,
my mom, this go back into trauma. But yeah, my mom would point out things on my body that, and just make fun of me. So yeah. But
what else?
Say you're talking about all the drama.
Oh my gosh, our mothers can fuck us up so much.
I know.
What else did she say was not good on you?
Well, it's like my thighs. She used to say I have thunder thighs and stuff like that.
Is that just her generation though, and not knowing how and no filter? No,
but for Aurora,
I'm defending your mom. I'm wait, but
no, I mean it might be it's just one of those things that I don't know. I think that my mom's whole MO was try and take away any sort of femininity, any sort of I feel pretty, I feel confident, and that's how she would knock me down is by keeping me in this world of I'm not pretty, I'm not enough, I'm not this. And so coming out of prison, I had hardly any self-esteem. And also coming out of prison, I got on social media and there was all these people judging me and basically making me a celebrity overnight. And I'm not a celebrity. I don't think of myself as a celebrity.
Right when Gypsy got out of prison, she already started doing all of these little videos get ready with me, outfit of the day, this is my review on this stuff, hair, makeup, clothes, bags. Nobody made her put that stuff out as content. She did it herself. She was released on December 28th of 2023, and by January 5th, when the Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard aired, she went to New York City and did 5 different interviews, including ABC, including The View, where she not only changed outfits to make it look like it was different days, but she did a behind the scenes, this is me getting ready. And I don't think her mom was trying to take away her femininity. I think that her mother literally believed that she had the mental capacity of a child because she seemed like it. I think her mom certainly knew that Gypsy was not quote unquote normal and that there was something genetically wrong there. And of course, she was proven right in 2013 that there was. But it's never about makeup, nails, hair, clothes, because while those things can sometimes help people feel aesthetically beautiful, make them feel confident, I'll never downplay that. Sometimes it only makes body dysmorphia and body image worse, especially comparing yourselves to celebrity, the whole Instagram versus reality. And when your image of what you want to look like and what you really look like don't align. But that applies to all human beings. There's just a lot of us who don't spend that many hours of a day looking at ourselves in the mirror, fussing over it.
Just a person, and I didn't expect to come out to such a big platform. And so trying to do like little cute selfies and stuff like that, I learned really fast that there are people that will not take their shoe off to tell you, you have a big ass nose. Like,
yeah. So social media is like evil. Evil. They can, yes, it can be a very positive experience and empowering, and you can create your own platform.
Yeah.
And, but there's that side to it, the haters, and it's hard not to read. You know, people say, stay off social media, just don't read comments. It's like, well, I want to read comments because take the bad out of it. I want to read the good. I want to see what I can do. Like, you know, there's that. So.
Exactly.
And now you wrote a post, sorry, I'm trying to find it. It was on, what date was it? On June 9th. You wrote what I thought was a beautifully written post.
Thank you. The post was actually meant for the next day. I ended up posting early.
On the 10th. Because
yes.
It would have been
yes, so it would have been on the 10th, but I just made the post early. But, you look very nice.
So I'm not trying to make this about me, but I commented on that post and I wrote beautifully said with a heart. I mean, I get haters left and right, but the amount of haters I got from writing that comment, people are making TikTok videos like, I can't believe you.
Yes.
What are you doing? And I stand by it. I didn't say in the comment whether I agree or disagree with anything that's happened in your past.
Right.
And that's not my place to agree or disagree. That's your story. But I was just saying, I thought your words were beautiful and it was eloquent. And
Tori Spelling is distancing herself from the Gypsy Rose Blanchard story. And she specifically says, I didn't say if I agree or don't agree. I didn't say if she's lying or if she's not lying, if she's telling the truth, if she's not telling the truth. All I did was just say beautifully said. She's very confident in the way she says, and I stand by what I said. But she's not when she psychologically distanced herself from the convicted murderer, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, in the event that she is a known liar and she has done nothing but lie. She's been caught in hundreds of lies. So it's very interesting how she is placating Gypsy, because Gypsy is the subject matter of which she is interviewing for this podcast. For content, she is not proudly and confidently and openly declaring, yes, I support Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Yes, I believe Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Her language is her psychologically distancing herself away from Gypsy Rose Blanchard, but she wants Gypsy to feel like she's eloquent, like it was so nice the way she worded it. So I find that very contradictory. So what Tori is doing is placating Gypsy, making her feel like, yeah, we have this connection, we have this friendship, even though she started this off with, I'm trying to find something to connect with you on. She's doing this specifically to get Gypsy to feel comfortable, to get her to open up, to get her to say something to her that she hasn't already said to 37 other interviewers or podcasters or any other documentary or her reality show. Because otherwise, she's just using mainstream media now to reiterate the same story over and over and over. And it's very rehearsed and scripted. Tori is not friends with the Blanchards, and she's never going to be friends with Gypsy Rose. She's going to make her think that they have this connection and this little friendship. But what she's going to do is she's going to keep her on a thread, making her placated into believing that. She's going to finish it with a different part. And in the future, years from now, if she decides to do her podcast still or another TV show, that hopefully Gypsy still has that connection and that thought of a friendship and will feel comfortable enough to come back. But publicly being linked to a murderer like Gypsy Rose Blanchard is bad for business. It's bad for branding. That's why all she's doing is just interviewing her. And in the future, if she wants to interview her again in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, she wants to leave that open for Gypsy to want to do it again. But as soon as this is done and over, all those little ties are going to be cut, because you can see that there is no real connection here whatsoever, and that she has been distancing herself from Gypsy the whole time. She's only interested in getting what she needs from Gypsy and having her as a possible subject matter for her podcast or to interview her again in the future, leaving that business and content opportunity available and open, which is smart because she's not declaring her a real friend. She's not declaring that they have a connection. She's not declaring that she believes her and that she supports her. She just wants Gypsy to feel just enough that she is, and she does.
And very powerful, but it's just, I mean, what you get is 10 times, but it was just one little inkling of like, wow, oh, you're jumping on her bandwagon.
Right.
And so many people called me and were like, oh my God, take down that comment. And I was like, no, I don't want to. Like, I stand by what I said.
Well, thank you for that. I did look because, I kind of wondered, if you would take the comment down or not. I wouldn't have blamed you if you took it down.
The fact that Gypsy Rose Blanchard becomes so energized and animated over a real celebrity leaving her a comment or saying something to her on any social media publicly is weird. Gypsy, I'm just going to give you a piece of advice. You are always going to be an outsider, just like everybody else. You are not going to be one of the cool kids. You were not born to generational wealth. You were not one of these Nepo babies, and you're never going to be a part of their club. Not even yourself. Your crime, what you did is the only reason why people are talking to you or want to talk to you. That is exactly why she starts off with, I know that you're tired of talking about this, but then she follows that and proceeds to exactly talk about that. Your mother, the crime. She even has Gypsy believing that her assistant or her manager said to take something off of a social media, like a comment, and that she said, oh no, I'm leaving it. Everybody knows how PR really works. We know how the PR machine really works. And we know who really runs all of these social media accounts that are verified under a celebrity's name. Yes, the celebrity may have access to those accounts, but they're not the ones that are running them, commenting, posting, editing, responding. Although I'm sure that they do get on there themselves, they usually have a PR firm, a lawyer, an assistant, a manager that helps them control their social media pages. But it's absolutely wild that Gypsy is like, I wouldn't have blamed you if you would have taken it down. Girl, you are going to be 34 years old. It was 2 words and an emoji. It really don't mean that much to Tori Spelling. Trust me, it doesn't. She just wanted this to happen, this podcast. As my friend Wendy always says, the hot topics.
But I remember when I had posted a video and Demi Lovato had posted a comment and she got just as much backlash and she ended up deleting the comment. And I don't blame her for it because it is kind of like, I am a controversial figure. And I don't want anyone to receive backlash.
That's the thing. You're not a figure at all. You're just a 34-year-old convicted murderer. You are and never will be in the league with these Nepo babies like Tori Spelling. You are not a talent like in Hollywood. You are not a musician, a singer, a songwriter, a producer. You're not an executive producer or a director. You're not an actress or a dancer or an artist. None of these people in Hollywood, true celebrities, are never going to be interested in being friends with Gypsy Rose. That's just not how it works. They only want to use her attention, and her fame for themselves. That's what they do. Why do you see so many celebrities and musicians and artists over the years do campaigns and brand deals together? So many of them cross paths and work together, do duets together, go on tour together, record songs together, because it helps both of them. It's mutually beneficial. Tori Spelling gets new people who don't ever listen to her podcast to come over to her podcast. And Gypsy Rose gets to feel like she's a cool kid by hanging out with a Nepo baby. It's all just so fucked.
Just because little old me, I don't want that for anybody. So it's kind of like, if they do take it down, I understand. But it speaks volumes if you keep it up. Yeah.
Yeah. When I connect with someone, I connect with them. And we connected. And
see, again, this is wild because she started this off with, she has been talking to her for a very long time in her DMs, and yet she has no connection to her whatsoever. She's trying to find something that connects them. That is verbatim what she said in the beginning, is I'm trying to find something to connect with you on. But what she's doing is trying to make Gypsy falsely believe that she has this friend, this confidant, this trusted person in Tori herself, because that's part of her celebrity. She wants to be relatable and likable. It's a part of maintaining your good brand. It's not because she wants to be friends with Gypsy Rose Blanchard and invite her over. It's business. It's truly business. And you don't have to say it 50 times in 50 minutes that you have a connection with somebody when you've spent that entire time struggling to find a connection to that person. Yet you want them to feel connected to you. And that's easy to do with somebody like Gypsy Rose Blanchard, simply by the fact that Tori Spelling is a celebrity and Gypsy is not. She's constantly using words to reaffirm and reassure Gypsy, not the listener. And it's so bizarre because Tori knows that she is straddling that very fine line. If she pushes the public and listeners too far, she's going to find herself in hot water and backlash. And that is the only thing she cares about. That, and she wants good content for part 2. New listeners, and she wants better ratings.
I totally stood by that. So whatever, people can say what they want to say. They don't know. That's the thing. Nobody knows because no one's walked in your shoes.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. What are you going to do in 48 hours? You're a free woman.
I know. Well, I do have a party get together with some of my friends, so I'm excited about that. We're going to go to New Orleans. I get to have my first alcoholic beverage. I've never drank in my life. So
oh my gosh.
Because on your own parole, you can't drink alcohol.
You can't drink. You can't hide it?
I'm like, do you have any recommendations? Because I'm like, I don't know what to get even.
Oh my gosh. Oh, what should you get? I don't know, because you don't even know if you like fruity. You don't know if you like...
Go easy on me.
Oh my God. So the first thing I ever had was called a pink lady.
Okay.
Which is so old school. I think I'd seen it in like some 1950s like movie, like, I don't know. And I don't really know what it was. Okay. And the second thing was like a whiskey sour, because my mom always drank it.
Okay, Tori, both of those, a whiskey sour and a pink lady, those are not only old school drinks, those are very traditional drinks that all bartenders learn. Girl, Gypsy, get you a blue Hawaiian. And even if you don't like Jaeger, it doesn't matter, because when you have my favorite drink, the redheaded slut, you cannot taste the black licorice. 1/3 peach schnapps, 1/3 Jaeger, 1/3 cranberry juice. You're welcome. And if you're not that confident about that black licorice taste that Jaeger has, use less, because we're all waiting for Gypsy Rose Blanchard to get drunk and do something stupid. But I really don't think that Ken or anybody else around her would let her post or do anything on her phone while she's currently intoxicated for that reason, to protect her from herself.
Okay.
Did your mom drink?
She didn't, no. She may have when she was younger. I don't know. But she didn't.
I'm not asking in a bad way. I'm just...
No. I've never seen her drink. No. Didn't smoke, didn't drink.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we tend to have a beverage that is like something reminiscent of our childhood that we grew up with. Not that you'd want to reflect on that with a nice freedom drink, but I don't know. Try a whiskey sour.
All right, I will try that for you.
Because it almost tastes like a fruity with a sour. Do you like sour?
I like Sour Patch Kids.
Same.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, so you're a sour candy, not a chocolate person?
I do like chocolate too, but it has to be milk chocolate. So.
Milk chocolate?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very skeptical of people that like dark chocolate.
I don't know. It just tastes funny. It's like, it's not.
Yeah, it does.
It's not rewarding.
Licorice?
It reminds me of those like X-Lax laxatives. I'm like, it's just not something you want to eat for fun.
That's funny. You should try a shroom chocolate. Just kidding. I don't know anything about that.
She literally did not just tell Gypsy to try magic mushrooms disguised in chocolate because they taste like crap. And the only thing she could find this whole time to connect with her on is alcohol. And Gypsy hasn't even drank yet. Wow, you like Sour Patch Kids? Well, so do I. We finally have one thing in common. Like, who doesn't like Sour Patch Kids? I mean, most people at least like the blue and the red ones. Tell me what you think, but I think this whole thing is a dud so far. Gypsy and Tori, you better bring it for part 2.
I actually don't. But licorice?
Okay. Not really.
Red or black if you had to pick one?
Red.
Okay, wow. I'm liking all your answers. Like, we're like super similar. Okay, savory or sweet?
Sweet.
We just became unfriends. We were such fast friends. No.
So good.
And that's it. That is it for part 1. Can you believe that? All that talking and a whole lot of nothing learned, nothing new. Nothing revolutionary. I'm kind of disappointed because Gypsy should be giving every person that interviews her something new, something different, not scripted, rehearsed, the same old answers to all the atypical questions that they have. Whoever is media training Gypsy Rose Blanchard, you get an F because you are not doing your job. And I don't know about her loyalty to Mike Stanfield for getting her off on a plea deal for second degree, a lesser charge than what she really did. But I would highly consider finding a new manager. I don't care if he writes a book. I don't care if he tells all your dirty secrets. Somebody help her do better interviews. Make it interesting. Give us something new, something different, something that we don't know about you, something that you look forward to, something that you tried. But this, you couldn't tell this apart from an ABC interview or from 60 Minutes or anything else. But that's just my thoughts. I don't know. You guys drop yours down in the comment section. If you liked my video, please subscribe, like, turn on notifications, and share.